we'll have to have a discussion. We'll have to start with some of the machine learning algorithms, right? I'm directly entering into the topic. It is none other than classification and clustering. So, if you are a beginner, if you are hearing this topic, maybe the words for the very beginning, right? So, we could say that both are grouping techniques. So, if both are grouping techniques, why do we wanted to have two different grouping techniques then? One is one is actually a guided grouping technique. The other one is actually blank, open for grouping. So the guided one is nothing but, see, based on certain features, right? Uh, the doctors or some symptoms, right? Let us take an example. Based on some symptoms, doctors are going to identify that this can be this maybe kind of flu or illness or whatever maybe, right? So in that case, the doctors or the physician is actually get trained on that cases. But the other case, we can remember, even if we are continuing the discussion of our maybe the epidemic, right? So when see Nipah once comes into Kerala over there in Calicut, right? We never had any idea about all those things, right? But in that case, one of the doctors from Baby Memorial Hospital who have identified that this can be because of various symptoms, right? In case this can be a kind of Nipah kind of flu, right? So in that case, where very first time, if you are identifying that, that means in Kerala or in India, nobody was actually trained on that. But even though he was actually maybe took the training and identified that this can be like this, right? So when COVID-19 comes into the picture, we had a history because of what we can do, what we can't do, right? All those things were there. In that case, we could say that in that case, it is bit easier. But even though based on different maybe symptoms and all, it is quite difficult actually to train the machine, right? In this case, both are in that manner. Probably what we can say this is actually one is classification, the other one is clustering. When the support, right, especially when the guidance is available, then we could say that it is classification. And if you wanted to do this kind of an analysis over a top of everything, right? Maybe we don't know anything about the data set. We don't know anything about the culture of the data set, nature of the data set, anything, right? In that case, we may have to go for clustering, right? So in classification, it is again classes are identified, right? It can be this flu or that guideline is available. But in case of clustering, it is not there. We don't know anything about the classes and all. Based on the training set, of course, right? So based on the symptoms, right, we may have to train the machine and we may have to identify what is actually what can be this, right? Here we don't have, in clustering, we don't have any prior knowledge, right? So based on the existing pattern, we may have to identify what is it, right? So what is next cases? Actually, the future observations can be classified. Right? Again, it is grouped, right? So this is actually, clustering can be useful for us to understand or explore data. That's all. What is actually happens? What is happening there? So a kind of. Now we are moving or taking this into another way, right? So this case can be defined as one is supervised and the other one is unsupervised. It is yeah, we don't know anything about the pattern, right? There is no guidance available. So in that case, it is unsupervised. If guidance are available about the possible classes, right? In that case, we could say that it is supervised learning, right? To major concepts, right? We may have to deploy, especially whenever we are dealing with machine learning algorithms. So this is actually about, let us take a business scenario here. What is the business scenario? A data science project, project, right? Customer segmentation, right? See, identify the potential. Let us assume that we are running a supermarket or a grocery shop, maybe, or a mall, right? So, see, identifying the potential customer base for the for selling the product itself is going to be a big trouble for the owner, right? In that case, potential customer in the sense, the nature of buying behavior of everybody will get differs, right? There will be premium customers for the mall. There will be not so premium kind of customers for the mall, right? Everything will be there, right? But the requirement is none other than, as far as if you are considering, if you are as the owner, you will have to take a decision that which kind of customers are visiting our mall, and whether how far we are able to provide the facilities, extend the facilities to them, right? We just wanted to, as a being a customer, we just wanted to make them happy, right? So let us assume that, let us take an example. If you are visiting a hypermarket, right? You are very much interested in perfumes, right? While you are entering there, right, a customized offer comes into your mobile phone saying that, hey, this perfume has got a reduced rate of 10% exclusively for you, right? So that kind of business promotions are possible, because this guy is needed, is interested in perfumes, right? So if he is interested, then only, if the person, if the people who are not interested in a kind of purchase, right? We can't actually, that kind of a message may not be useful for him, right? So the right identification, it is none other than identification of the exact customer is actually needed at this point in time, right? So instead of addressing a person over here, right, we can, the major advantage is none other than, we can apply this to a major group. So if you are taking this as a business scenario, this is none other than clustering, right? We don't know anything about the customer segments, right? Based on their buying behavior, based on their previous records in our hypermarket, or maybe with the help of the questionnaire we have collected from them, right? So we can make an assumption that these people are interested in this sort of maybe in this sort of items, right? So this is actually the way where we wanted to identify. So this is actually a typical clustering problem, right? The friends, right? If we are discussing about clustering, different techniques are available. We might have missed the many, right? But even though the cases, the partitional basis and hierarchical clustering divisions are there. Different clustering, different types of clustering, clustering techniques based on different approaches are available, right? So we can check any one of the clustering. We can go ahead with any one of the clustering techniques now. Say, as of now, we are going to take a data set of one of the tests which we have conducted for our maybe for the member or to the engineering colleges in the state of Kerala. So it is none other than employability quotient test. Whether we just wanted to identify that, this is actually for the knowledge of individual as a student or to the college, right? Probably they wanted to get details about the college, maybe whether they wanted to identify that our students are employable or not. So the major categories of tests is actually the numerical ability, logical reasoning, verbal, IQ awareness, everything will be there. Kind of categories are there. Again, this is actually based on one of the inputs provided by one of the IT giants, right, in the industry. We had an interaction with them. Actually, it is actually one of the partners of ICT Academy of Kerala, right? What they said is actually we had a discussion, and we came to know that these are the things which we wanted to know whether while we are absorbing a person, maybe a student, right? Or so in that case, our responsibility was actually to share this knowledge, right? We just wanted to equip our students with these skills, right? So the advantage of conducting kind of a test is none other than we can derive an information out of it, saying that hey friends, you are good at this numerical aptitude, and it is always better if you can check your skills on verbal ability or IT awareness, right? So this is actually a kind of maybe we used to provide a progress report also, especially to to this kind of institution, right? So Raji, I wanted to add something apart from this.
No, Srikanth, you continue. I will put the other details in the chat.
All
So
right,
you
okay.
don't
Okay,
disconnect
fine.
yourself.
Yeah, fine. So these all are the cases, right? So I'm just going to show you the what to say the maybe the score, right? This is actually a kind of maybe another thing, right? The last time I have used the spider environment. Again, I'll be explaining this with the help of a program, right? This is actually the data set. Data set is like this. We have the institution name. So we have here just masked that, right? So we have this much of data over here, maybe 1,300 plus data rows are available. It is actually it is the data for 1 year. So this is actually the student number, and the overall grade is actually available. This will be communicated, and this will be there, right, in their progress report and all. Then the score of individuals, right, especially right, numerical, logical, verbal, IT, and the time taken to complete this also here, right? So based on these performances, right, what we have decided is none other than it is in milliseconds, right? So it is in so it is in seconds, right? So every word, right? So based on this, whether how far we are able to cluster the students, right? So that will be an additional advantage for them, right? As of now, we are going for clustering, right? Again, our responsibility is none other than we are trying to plot the results also, right? So that I will be considering only two columns here for the to get it implemented through one of the algorithms, right? So what is actually here? I'm going to take this numerical column and logical column or verbal column, whatever may be, right? For the consideration here, right? So what we wanted is actually right. We just wanted to identify the potential cluster of our students, right? Whether in which area they are good, in which area they are bad, all those things, right? So I'm the necessary, right, some header files, also just libraries I have imported, right? Then I'm going to read the cluster.csv file, right, which is available over here, right? Cluster.csv. Cluster.csv is what we have seen earlier, right? The same comma separated file format is available. I'm just going to, right, as of now, you know that this is actually 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to access my, extract the values of third column and fourth column, right? So I'm going to save this as a variable called X, right? Let us take that X view now. It is none other than we have just extracted this two columns only. We are just going to incorporate this for our deployment, and we have taken only this for the process, right? So what happens next, right? As of now, I'm going to, my next responsibility is, as of now, I'm going to take the k-means algorithm for the clustering, k-means, right? One of the major requirements of k-means is actually, initially we will have to identify what is actually k, right? So in that case, you can run your, maybe the elbow method can be applied, right? Don't worry about the codes and all. It is not that much tougher, right? So I'm just going to run this code, right? It is actually, it is none other than, the requirement is none other than within cluster sum of square. With that particular method, we'll have to identify how many clusters we wanted to have from the data set, right? So it is actually, we have the facility to schedule from 1 to 10, right? So k-means plus plus is actually the method we are using to avoid the random initialization trap, right? So please note random, what is in that random initialization trap for the beginners, right? So in that case, again, we are just taking the k-means algorithm, right? Again, we just wanted to have our elbow method, right? I'm just running the elbow method to identify the number of cluster. Again, it is actually a plot, right? So from this table, right, it is well clear that we have this is actually second two clusters over here, and the final elbow is here, right? This is actually can be 3. Apart from that, we can't identify any significant elbow, right, in the overall throughout this line, right, in this method. So we have identified that the number of clusters for this process we needed is none other than it is 3, right? So again, we are using k-means plus plus, right? So I'm going to create the cluster. We are calling the k-means function and going to create yk-means. Yk-means as actually the cluster, right? The results will be here. Hey friends, now it is actually k-means applied. We had a try actually to create 3 clusters, 0, 1, and 2, right? Now throughout the overall data set, every row, for every row we have created a cluster, right? So why we have selected only 2 is none other than it is actually to get an idea, to derive, to have a plot, right? So to a 2-dimensional plot over here. As of now, whatever may be, right? Say if we are considered numerical ability and all, right? This is actually k-means by prediction. The tabular format, the derivation of the tabular format is over here. But what we are planning is this is actually, we are trying to plot this, right? So plot with a red, blue, green kind of structure, right? So we are running the whole plotting codes here. Now this is actually, I think it is visible, right? Some of you can give me an update, right? The screen is visible, right?
Yes, it is visible. The clusters are shown.
Fine. So friends, so this is the result. Right. If you are comparing our numerical ability and verbal reasoning, reasoning, right here, ability here. So what happens here? It is right. These students need extra. What intensive care is needed to the students, right? Those who are into the cluster 2, right? The legend says it is cluster 2. These students wanted to have intensive care because they are weak at numerical ability and also at verbal reasoning, right? Right. What is next case? It is these students. These students are good at verbal, but even though they don't have, they haven't meet any other requirements of actually our maybe numerical ability, right? They are falls under this category, but even though they are an average kind of students. So now you can, even though this is red, right? As now you can see that this people falls under a good category, right? So and maybe out of bounds case is also here, right? See this this person. This person is here. Actually, he's in the premium category, right? He's in the upper category, but even though what says is he may be here because of his high performance in the numerical ability, right? he does not have that much of skill, especially in the verbal domain, right? But this, because of his good score in this area, right? He is into the upper category. So again, we haven't applied this kind of techniques. We haven't shared kind of information to our colleges. But even though the possibilities, as of now, probably this year onward, we will be sharing kind of knowledge, right? At this point in time, the required, the thing what we require is none other than friends. So we can train our students, especially in the weaker subjects, right? We can easily identify what is actually the requirement, where we are really lapsing, right? So this is actually a typical clustering problem, and we have identified this with the help of our say uh, maybe our this thing, right? Maybe k-means, right? I can pause for a second, right? I just wanted to hear from you in case of any doubts. Probably Rizi may be answering that, right? I just wanted to hear, right, whether is it fine, or is it fine to go ahead, or any discussions are required. I can pause for a minute. Either you can use the chat box, or you can unmute your mic, and we can discuss. Fine. Oh, okay, fine. So otherwise, we will continue with the discussion. In case of anything, we can discuss it towards the end, right? So if that is the case, right? If we can share kind of information to the colleges, right? This will be easier, right? This is actually now again an era has become as an online learning systems and all. Let us assume that if a kind of model which is running behind our system, especially this will be really useful for everybody to track, right? What is actually whether to make it sure that the developments are up to the mark, right? We can train, right, based on their clicks, inputs, their behavior in the online maybe learning management system, right? We can track their details, and we can identify that, hey friends, it is always better if you can concentrate on this area, or we can or identify, instead of giving a feedback, even we can our machine also can be get trained on whether if this person comes into the picture, this kind of questions can be posted to him, because he need attention, especially in the verbal uh, domain. Sorry. So that is all. That is actually kind of the requirement of having clustering, right? So again, moving to the next topic here, it is none other than classification, right? We have different algorithms in clustering, classification, right? So based on the data set, we can take the call, right? Which one we wanted, right? So in case of a classification, what we have in the classification is, say, this is actually this surface, this platform is actually a trained data set, maybe as boys or girls, right? So one person newly comes into the picture, right? Where we should see, so into which class he will be belongs to. That is the classification problem. So we have a well-performed history. We have a well-created history over here. Boys and girls are here. So one person comes into the picture newly. The system should identify that he is into which group, right? So that is the classification, right? We have different classification algorithms, right? So yeah, support vector machine to decision tree, name-based classifier, k nearest neighborhood, everything kind of classification algorithms we have, right? So what is actually again classification? How classification works is actually we will be dividing the whole data set into two, right? So one will be training set, and the another one can be the test set, right? So one is training set and the other one is test set. What happens here? It is not dividing exactly 75-25 in that ratio, but the original data set will be, yeah, taken. Random shuffling will be there. That is actually, we might have, you might have noticed that in the Python code, there is actually a random state, right? So randomly we will be taking the people, right, the data set. After shuffling, 25 percentage will be assigned to the test set, and the remaining maybe the training set will be allocated with 75 percentage. 80-20 is also to certain extent it is possible, right? So let us see whether how it will work, right? So the training set is here. We will use this training set to train the model, right? Then the result is here. Then we are going to evaluate the model with the test set, right? So 80-20 or 75-25 is here. So we have our training set and the test set. Training set is used to train the model. Then we are going to evaluate the model using test set. So the advantage is none other than we have we can calculate the efficiency, the performance of your model with the help of our test set evaluations, right? So how it will work? One of the best ways to evaluate the performance of your model is confusion metrics for model evaluation. Confusion metrics in the sense, let us to avoid all the confusions, right? Let us take this as the predicted results, and this is actually actual results, actual based on test set, right? If 100 overall 100 data sets are there, then 25 is going to be the test, right? If it is 75-25, right? So in that case, actually it is positive, right? Predicted is also positive. That is true, positive here, right? What is next? Predicted is actually it is negative, right? But see, in this case, predicted is actually negative, right? So what happens in this case? Our prediction is wrong, right? So see, actually is negative, but we have predicted as a positive, right? False positive. But in case of the next case, the positive actually it is positive, but we have predicted as negative. So what is next case? Actually, it is negative, but we have predicted as negative. So in that case, it is correct, because 0-0, which is true, right? 1-1, which is true. In that case, we could say that this 2 points, right? Summation of these two maybe metric elements are going to create, right? Are helpful for us to identify the true observations, total number of true observations, right? So then in that case, how to evaluate the accuracy of your model? It is none other than we are just going to, yeah, sum this. Let us assume that after maybe 40 plus 40 each, maybe 100 is total data set. So 40 is here. Then the remaining is actually we have 40 plus 40, 80. Then remaining is 10 each, right? In that case, it will be our maybe 100. The total sample strength is going to be 100. So what we are doing here, so the accuracy can be calculated here, right? So the total true positive, true negative, right? So that the case is 80. 80 divided by the whole number of observation, it is going to be 100. So it is very simple that 80% is the accuracy of your model. So kind of facilities, kind of techniques can be used to evaluate the model, right? So again, yeah,
Srikanth, 1 second. Sorry to interrupt. A request to explain the confusion metric once. Can you go through the general concept once?
this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, confusion metrics, right? So as of now, we have a process flow. We have a test evaluation model. We have evaluated the model. All right. Evaluation of the model is based on the test set. Right. So let us assume that we have 100 overall 100 data rows. Right. So we might have divided our 75 to 25 in that ratio. 75% is actually for the training set, and 25% is for testing the set. So what happens, right? While testing, right? This is actually only for to test the data set, right? So we are just going to, as of now, what we have 25 test observations are here, right? We are just actually what we wanted. Our expectation is none other than the accuracy of our accuracy of our model should be higher. In that case, what we needed, false cases should be, right? Either a new person comes into the platform, if he's a boy or girl, right? So if it is 00, he can be a girl. If it is 00, 11, he can be a boy. That is actually we are comparing that, right? So in that case, what we needed is, don't worry, this is actually the predicted result. Our model predicted like this. This case is actually our actual result, maybe our data set, right? The tested data set. In that case, what we have discussed is, as of now, we have 25 observations. The 25 observations in the sense that whole 25 should be distributed among these four cases. Among these four cases, what happens? What happens now? It is none other than, say, if it is actually it is positive. That means he's a boy, right? Our prediction result is also positive. That means our model is perfect. Our model is correct, right? So what is next case? Actually, it is negative, right? Actually, it is negative. That means our as per our the test, the actual data set says that she is a girl. It is a girl, right? But our model predicts that it is actually one. That means false positive comes into the picture, right? So if our model, so in that case, our model is wrong, right? What is next case? Next case is actually actual result is positive, but predicted result is maybe here it is, you could say that it is 0. That means actually it is 1. That means he's a boy. That person is a boy, actual, right? We are comparing with the existing result to identify the performance. But we have predicted as the 0. That means our model has got failed over here to make the correct prediction, right? So what is next case? Next case is actual is it is 0, negative. It is 0, right? So predicted is also 0. That means we are on track, right? Actual result is also 0 and predicted result is also 0. That means we are on track, right? So to identify the total true observations out of it, it is none other than we have to sum this two cells together, right? That is going to be the predicted observation. Positive, positive, negative, negative, right? Everything should be on a specific track, right? It is very simple, right? So we have maybe 10 observation here, a 10 observation here. Now we have 20. The total observation in the sample space or in the data space, it is 25. Then we could say that 3 is here and 2 is here. So let us assume that this is actually 10 plus 10. So accuracy 10 plus 10, 20 is here. So the total strength, everything, right? So it is none other than 25. 20 divided by 25. What is actually the accuracy here, right? Accuracy is very well clear that 80% of accuracy we have. Is that clear? Fine. Anything else? Raji, I think it is fine, right? Fine.
Yes,
Okay.
Srikanth, yes.
So in that case, let us learn how to go with our maybe I'm running out of time again. Sorry for that. Again, let us see whether how to yeah how to see how to run a classification algorithm with one of the real-time applications, right? Over to you, Ruji. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Srikanth. So what we'll do in the last part of our session, we will have a demonstration on classification. So that actually I would like to introduce to a beautiful platform by Google. Hope that some of you already gone through this platform. So put it in the chat box whether if you have already seen this. Teachable machines. So anybody used teachable machine before? Can we have a quick survey? Yes, no? Okay. All of you, please. So actually, this is an initiative by Google, and what Google wanted is they wanted to make machine learning available for everyone. So yesterday we discussed about specific skill set for becoming a machine learning specialist. It actually had programming skills. It needs something like statistics, basic mathematics skills, knowledge on calculus, linear algebra. So do you think that a person who has got expertise in all these have to do or create any machine learning algorithms? Vishnu Menon actually heard about it. Okay, good. So we will experience that. So what we do it in the next part is we will do a demonstration on classification using this tool, and then we will create a mobile application. And so that when you look at any of the machine learning or artificial intelligence application, at the end it should be available with the users. And it is either in the form of a web application or in the form of a mobile application. Otherwise, it is in the kind of a robot kind of a physical product. Okay. Anyway, if anybody creating any kind of mobile artificial intelligence systems or machine learning system, finally it should be available for the users. So take the example of the latest mobile phone with camera, and they titled as AI enabled camera. It recognizes your face. Okay, that is a simple thing that they do. So finally, it is available as a product, and everybody uses it. So it's same funda. If you do any kind of, if you develop any kind of algorithms using your machine learning techniques, finally it should be hosted somewhere, or it should be available either as a mobile application or a web kind of an application. So the suggestions that recommendation you receive in your Amazon's or Flipkart kind of e-commerce websites are pure examples of machine learning. So we will see how you can create a machine learning without much expertise. So click on this get started. So you can practice this just after I finish the presentation. So they actually created 3 categories: one for images, one project on image, one on audio, and one on pose. So let me take the first one, image. So here you have class 1 and class 2. So right now I can connect what Srikanth said in the initial part. You have different clusters, right? So here actually we have 2 classes. You can give input in 2 ways. Either you can switch on your web camera and then take samples, which is like a human detection. So if you want to do that, so I am not going with the webcam input. So right now I am going with uploaded image. So what I am going is, I have already created a data set. The data set consists of different classes. So right now I have classes like birds, bridges, cycle, shoes, stadium. So I will be taking the first 4 classes and creating a project. In the first class, I'm taking images of birds. In my folder, I have around 150 images, but I'm taking a few. So these are the samples I'm picking. So let's add to this first class. So I have around 29 images. So let me change the name of this class as birds. So now my first class is created with birds. So similarly, let me go and create a second class, and which is of bridges. So let me take some sample images. More the images, more accurate would be your predictions. I have another set of images of bridges. So let me change the name to bridges. If you want to add a new class, click on add a class. So now I am into the third class, which is cycles. So let me take some cycles.
Reggie,
Right,
Reggie, you have to present it now, right? Somebody has
Okay.
changed the screen.
All right, I will wait. I will wait. Hope you can see now. Once again, yes. All right, back. So right now I am into the third class. I added a few images of cycles and changing the class name as cycle so that you can see it later. So the last class I am going to form and getting images from the fourth category called shoes. So let me take a few samples of the shoes. Right, so got 35. So what I have now is I created 4 different. So Srikanth mentioned about the labeled class called supervised learning, in which everything has labels. So here you know that the label is a bird, either bridge, cycle, or shoes. And the next phase is you have to train it. So there is a second option available here is training. So let me click on the training button. So it is actually training. So now we are creating a model, a supervised model. The time to create the model depends upon the input that you give. If you give more images, then it will take more time. The reason why I give only 30 images, because I don't want you to wait for 2-3 minutes. Right now it will be finishing in less than 1 minute. So if you give more inputs, the accuracy will be more. And so when you do something, then it's always advisable to give more. So right now you can have an input, right? And you can see me in the webcam, because there are 2 options. So right now we are in the testing stage. So the preview is available here. So what we wanted to do is, you can see below my picture, you can see the 4 classes: birds, bridges, cycles, and shoes. So I have an artificial bird here. So let me show this as an input. So now it is recognized as a bird. Okay. So it's actually image detection, right? So I have a shoe over here. Now, so let me. The accuracy will be changing. I give only 20 to 30 images, so it is not correctly picking this. But if you hold it, because most of the images I have given may not be matching with this. So right now it is almost the same, right? You can see that it is recognizing this as a thing. On the other hand, let me switch from camera to file, so I can do the same demonstration using uploading images. So let me take this as a shoe, and then I'm uploading this, and then it is recognized, because this is the same image I have given in the test for training the model. So it is perfectly matching with the input. So the one I have shown is a new one, not in the trained list, but in the testing I'm using a totally different one. That's the way the accuracy is less. So if you want to get a good accurate model, then you have to train images. So if you want a shoe, then you have to have images of shoes of all categories in different angles. So here actually it worked when I placed it in a different angle. So now in this, so think that if you are a teacher and you wanted to teach the students on classification, and rather than going and telling the definition, you can go and do a demonstration like this. So actually it tells you how different classes are created, and then how the new element is mapped into the different classes. So you can easily demonstrate the use. Then the most beautiful part of this is the last one. So now there is an option to export this model. So let me click on the export model button. Right now, most of you are working either in R or Python. If you do, anybody use any other language for your data analytics work other than R or Python? Please put it in the chat. Which is the language that you use for your data analytics work? Just put, if it is R, type it as R. If it is Python, then put it as Python. Let me have a quick look at. Okay, Annie Davis says Python. Ruben Bichu says, okay, it's a mix of R and Python. But now some people uses JavaScript, because the reason why, when you look at the web applications, most of the web applications or even mobile applications are created by using JavaScript. JavaScript is one of the popular languages for web applications. So if you want your mobile, your machine learning algorithm works in the web, then there is an option to develop it using JavaScript. So that's the reason why you can see, I think you are familiar with the term TensorFlow. That TensorFlow framework is for Python. So when you click on the TensorFlow, you can see that this model is, you can see the code. You haven't written a single piece of code, but when you do this and click on the create, is being imported, and the entire syntax is in Python. And then if you click on TensorFlow.js, which is JavaScript, the entire code is written in JavaScript. So you don't have to write it in JavaScript, but you have this model available with you. So what I'm going to do is, this is the next phase of the presentation. So think that if you want an image classifier and you don't have much expertise in programming, so still you can create a you create a machine learning model for image classification using this platform, Teachable Machine. And then how you can make it as a product. So that is the next phase. So click on the upload my model button. Then it is taking a few seconds. And this also depends upon the number of images you use for training. And if you use huge amount of images, it will take some time. So in here I want you to look at this, your shareable link. So there's a link here. Right now the link is not active. And once you complete the updation process, right now it is completed, you can copy the link. What is this? Teachable machine model. Then there is a, so just copy this. And then what I do here, I will share this link in the chat box so that you can try it from your end. Now I have a model created for image classification. So just copy it into your web browser, open it. And if you are using a mobile phone, or even if you are using a computer, and give the input by using your webcam or use the file upload option. Just try it. For a moment, I am just stopping my presentation. So actually, I want some of you to present and then demonstrate it from your end. Who is going to do that? Now the link is with you. So just open the link and it will ask for input field, just like I demonstrated using some of the objects that I have. Otherwise, you can just upload image from. So please download a shoe image and then upload. And we want one demonstration from your end. So anybody in the participants group, use the present now option, okay, and share your screen and demonstrate it back. Here you don't need to train anything. Actually, the model link is given. It's already trained. You can use that model and do demonstrations. So who is going to do that? And once you complete that, I will tell you how can you develop a mobile application in less than 5 minutes using this. So by the end, all of you go out of this virtual session with the APK of a mobile application. So that is the last thing that we will do. Anybody? Is my question clear? Just open this link in a browser and then share your screen so that we can see your browser. And then you give a sample input. If you have a shoe there, then you just demonstrate. Otherwise, you download an image and then upload it as a file and see how the image is recognized, whether it is classified as correctly or not. Are you able to see, access the site? Please say yes or no. No. Srikanth, can you try? Okay, I can say. Okay, so Gladson sir is actually doing. Oh, he has got his shoe in his hand. That's the quality of a leader. So place it horizontally, so that I think most of the images that I had in for the training, kept it in the horizontal position. Okay, some of you say, yeah. Yeah. So if I train it by more pictures, okay, it's fine, sir. I just wanted to see. So the link is accessible. So right now your accuracy level is less because you can you place it close to your camera?
Yeah,
Can you
sure.
keep it so
Sure,
closer
sure.
to yes. Maybe the background. Right now it is good. Okay, it is captured. The background may be one of the reasons.
Yeah, sure,
So
sure.
right now that's great. So thank you, sir.
Okay,
So
welcome.
now the last part is we will create a mobile application. So I think if I ask you to create a mobile application, you may say that I am not an Android expert to create a mobile application. But what we are going to do is we will take you to. Sir, can you please stop presenting so that I can take it over? Gladson, sir. All right, thank you, sir. So the last part of our presentation, actually, we are taking you to a mobile a site and where you can create mobile application with less effort. It's just like a quick fix kind of a thing. So anybody, how many of you actually use this site? appinventor.mit.edu. Actually, this is a project of MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and they offer this app development as easy as possible. So this platform will help you to create Android application or even iOS application without even writing a single piece of Java code. So the concept used here is block coding. So once you need only an email ID to create an account here. So click on the create app. So I already have an account. So let me go ahead with the rest of the thing. So what I do is click on a new project, and then I say that I'm going to do a demo. This is my demo 01. Okay. So I created a new project. It is just like creating any new file in a Word document. So we are creating a new project in App Inventor. So it will take another 5 minutes. So we will wind up in 5 minutes. I need to log in. All right. So this is a home page. So let me create it again. So I'm creating a new project. Demo_01. All right. So what my intention is, I wanted to create a mobile application. And right now what you did is you copied the link and put it in the browser, and then it opens up to you. So I want to have a similar experience with a mobile phone. So I want this model should be working in a mobile phone so that you have an application in your mobile phone, just like the Paytm app or any other app. When you click on that, you will have a window, and where you have a button, it asks you whether you need to detect an image. When you click on that, and the model will be opening. So what only thing I need in this screen is I need a button. So the interface design is so easy. You can drag and drop a button to the screen. So now you have the emulator of the phone, and then now you have a button inside. I'm going to do some modification in the design. So I want the button to be in the center. Okay, so let me change that to center of the screen and middle of the screen. So now I have this. So if you want to change the color, so I want a different background color. So I change this. So the text I can change by click me something like that. Okay. Some small changes so that you can easily follow that. I'm making it bold. All right. So if you want to have background color for the screen, let's go for a different color, maybe gray color. All right. The purpose is only to have a button. So now I have a button. So what I am expecting is when I want to embed the model. That's right now the model is in the form of a link that is shared with you. I wanted to embed that link inside this button so that when you click on this button, the model will be opening. For that, I need another component. Right now, I use the user interface component called button. So then these are the different features of this app design. There is a category called connectivity. So inside the connectivity, there is a activity called activity starter. Just drag and drop inside. So now you look here in my mobile application I'm creating. I used only two components. First one was a button. Second one is an activity starter. So this is only the design. The design is over. So if you want to create an application, you wanted to have a front end and the UI is completed. And now the coding part. So since we are not going to write any programming, so how will you do the designing? So click on the right top of the screen. So there is a button called block. Click on that. So actually this shows the block coding part, and there are a lot of controls here. So let me quickly take you to the button part. This is the component that we have. What we have to do is something should happen when you click on the button. So I'm just dragging this feature. So this is actually a procedure. We can call it anything. It's a control thing. So when a button is clicked, something should happen. So what we want is when we click on the button, an activity should be opened. So this is a procedure. In programming language, we call it as function and procedure, method. So just we don't want to write any method, just do it. I think the coding part is also over. When we click on the button, activity should be started. So now come back to the design. So the design, we have a screen with a button. When you click on the button, something should happen. So for the button, and then for the activity started, I need to link the model. So right now the model is available with you. So just paste the model link. So just I pasted the model link that is copied from. So right now let me go back, and this is the link that we are copying, and that link should be pasted inside this active URL. You can see that the URL part is here. Just paste it, and then for a better viewing, you have to add one code here, Android dot. So there is a viewing code that I forgot, Android dot activity starter. Let me check it. It's a single line thing. Once again. It's here. Android dot action dot view. Let me place it here. And once it is done, now your app is completed. So what we do is I will share you the link of this app. Okay. And then what you can download. So let me tell how can you download this application. So I think right now everyone in Kerala know what is an APK. Everyone in Kerala was discussing about what is Android application, how applications are created, what is an APK. Even they know what is performance testing, thanks to the Webco app development process. And you can download the Android So now the mobile application I am sharing with you, you can download the APK of this mobile application in your mobile and test it. So what you tested in your browser, the model, right now it is available in the form of a mobile application. So just try it. And just after that, just tell whether you have the model working in your mobile phone, yes or no, or waiting, doing the status updation. And then we will go for a Q&A. Yeah, Robin. Thank you, Robin, sir, doing status updation. Okay, it's working. Great, Vishnu Menon. So Vishnu sir said it's working. Good. So we will give you a link of this video tutorial, or both the things I discussed so far. The teachable machine, how to create a demonstration in teachable machine, and then how to create a mobile application using this. I know that in this discussion, some of the things may not be visible to you. So we will give you a separate link of this particular session so that you can try developing. So that will give you more confidence. Trying, working. Sometimes if your mobile needs a permission change, and if you are trying to install a third-party application, you have to switch the preferences. You have to allow an external application to be installed in your machine. So only for this application. Okay, Rekha ma'am says she got it. So which image you recognize, ma'am? Oh, great. Ruben sir is presenting it. So if you want to share, if anybody needs to share your screen, you are free to share the screen as well. So good to see. So shoes, perfect. Okay, Gladson sir, that's all from our side. So they are practicing this out, and right now the forum is open for questions. Any questions?
Yeah, very good, very good. Hello. I hope everyone thoroughly enjoyed the session. Probably, if you have any queries, you can ask right now. Or if no queries, it's good to one or two participants, they can make their feedback about the 2-day session which went on. So let us spend maximum 10 minutes for that. Everything we have to wind up by 12:30 itself. Kindly, if anybody wants to, enable your video, audio, and talk. Some questions are coming, Rijin. If possible, okay, you can answer those. Is it no, Srikanth?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Checking. Srikanth.
Which classification? Yeah.
Rishi?
There's a
Yes,
question.
Rishi, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, one listening. Yeah, okay. Yeah, again, Surekha ma'am, which classification algorithm is considered as most efficient neural networks? Again, we as of now we can't say which one is actually best, right? So the problem is actually, again, it is purely depends upon the data set which is given to us, right? So the one of the best ways is none other than the increase the proficiency by tuning the variables, right? Maybe applying scaling facilities, all those things, right? It is always better to make a decision based on the performance or the accuracy which is obtained to us.
I think no other questions, right? Any feedback? Anything you want to speak? Nothing. I hope nobody wants, right? Srikanth, shall we conclude?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Some comments are coming, right? Nobody want to, speak. But anyway, some response are coming. Anyway, while going through the feedback sent by different participants, it clearly shows that the sessions were really useful. It throws some lights and it triggers the thinking process of many of the participants. That is what is expected from conducting a webinar like this. The quality of the information which was given by both the presentators, Dr. Srikanth as well as Regin and Das, made the session really wonderful. I too received many new information while watching the webinar. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science of Government College Nedimangar, I extend heartfelt thanks to both Srikanth as well as Regin and Das. And I do remember with the gratitude the service rendered by the joint coordinator of the webinar, Dr. Bindulal P.S. He is a colleague of mine. Thank you, Dr. Bindulal. Again, the participants, they took the enthusiasm in listening the entire program throughout. We got around maximum around 80 participants attended throughout the session. We may not know each other, but this platform helps us to know at least something about us. We will continue with such kind of endeavors, no doubt about it. You can ask the queries, you can post the queries in the Telegram channel. And those who have attended that entire 2-day session, they will get online certificate, e-certificates, after filling the feedback form, which you will receive shortly after the ending of this webinar. The certificate probably you will get it by tomorrow after verifying, cross-checking it. And the entire recorded version will be available in the YouTube channel. So use those. And if you have any feedback in connection with the topic which you need to conduct webinars, that can be also informed us through WhatsApp or mail. I once again thank everyone who have worked behind it and my principal, Dr. Alex, who have given the support. Thank you. We will keep in touch with. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Gladstone sir, for the active participation and well coordinated event. Thank you from ICT Academy of Kerala.
Okay.
Thank you all participants. See you.
Okay.